The classic episodes of The Simpsons produced content that was fun for people of all ages, and I'm not just talking about how you didn't understand the jokes about taxes until you were older. I'm saying that some of these scenes were so well written that everyone of all ages could enjoy them simultaneously. However, the newer episodes seem to have lost such magic. Hello, my name is Stuart, and welcome to my first and hopefully not last video. And I know what you're thinking. Picking the new episodes of The Simpsons is the easiest target there is, but I think I've noticed something that, as far as I'm aware, no one else has pointed out yet. Apologies if I've stepped on any toes. Before we start to explore how The Simpsons smashed it out of the park back in the 90s, let's have some fun ripping apart a modern episode. Season 20, Episode 2, Lost Verizon. It's an episode all about cell phones, and oh my god, I'm already cringing at all the technology being forced down our throats. But going beyond that, Lost Horizon isn't the worst episode in the world. It doesn't even have the modern opening credits. And there's only one bit that really annoys me. Still, it inspired this video, so let's go over every single error. It starts with Principal Skinner running out of fuel on the highway after only using 90% of his gas, but he's put $1 worth in. Am I dead inside, or is that one of the worst jokes ever to grace the small screen? Anyway, Milhouse sees him stuck in traffic and uses his cell phone to call his entire year. I can see what you're trying to do here and be down with the kids, but making multiple phone calls is the least Gen Z thing ever. Even an embarrassed principal is not enough to unite the cliques. Still, we need to find a way for Bart to get jealous, so now he wants a phone. Marge will say that they don't have enough money, but will later afford a spontaneous trip to South America. And I'm not saying cartoons need to be 100% realistic, but traditional housewife Marge should surely find another reason to say no. Speaking of South America, Lisa just happens to be learning about the wondrous Machu Picchu, so when it gets mentioned later, she can bury her conscience and lie to her parents, which I'm fine with. She's 8. However, Lisa's also really smart. We know she knows about Machu Picchu. You don't need to add a scene of her coincidentally looking up exactly where the bird Bart puts a tracker on later is going. It causes the writers to say to the audience, look at this massive Deus Ex Machina hoop. Just believe this all happens. I find it kind of an insult to long-time viewers. Anyway, back to Bart, and he's at a golf course collecting balls to make money, and then enters Dennis Leary. His first joke is explaining that he's Diego from Ice Age, but he's played other characters too, because all good jokes need explaining. Apart from that, I quite like his appearance. He saves a lot of the cringy bits of the cliché story that take place once Bart gets his phone. Then Marge puts a tracker in it. Bart finds out and attaches the tracker to a bird that migrates to South America, and Marge follows it. Marge has never been the most down with the kids. She's often the most cautious and the least accepting of new things, especially when it comes to technology. So why does she blindly follow a piece of tech that she doesn't understand and was given to her by someone she doesn't know, instead of thinking for maybe 1 second that this isn't working? I said earlier that cartoons don't need to be realistic. This isn't it. Especially since in earlier episodes, The Simpsons always had a justified reason for their travels. A good moment of it being unrealistic is during the tracker montage where Marge pops out of a coffin. That's actually quite funny. It's a horrible last 5 minutes to the episodes, but the scenes where Bart is at home, living it up in the day and being scared shitless at night is entertaining enough for season 20 standard. And there is a sweet ending when Bart grabs Marge's leg and says, "Promise you'll never leave again." But there is one moment, the absolute worst moment that's so bad it cannot be redeemed, and motivated me to write this episode. What is in this coffee? Bart gets a pop-up text advertising Viagra. He says he doesn't know what it is, but it's going in Skinner's coffee. And then a second later we see Skinner walking funny for half a second and saying, what is in this coffee? That's it. That's your secret joke that only adults will get. And it's on the same level as a Family Guy cutaway. Because this joke, it just comes and goes in a flash. We see no extended slapstick mishap, no consequences for Bart's prank or Skinner's misfortune. Bart laughs, and that's supposed to indicate to us that comedy has been done. Which brings me, very loosely, to Season 4, Episode 2, A Streetcar Named Marge. That's right, the episode that got The Simpsons cancelled in New Orleans. But I'm not going to talk about serious politics, I'm just going to talk about Atlas Shrugged. Remember when I said the ending to Lost Verizon was sweet and emotional? Well, A Streetcar Named Marge rips that to shred when we see Marge being ignored by Homer. But I don't need to run through this episode. Unlike Lost Horizon, you've probably watched this one. I said the classic Simpsons wrote scenes that were fun for all ages. Well, one of the most memorable scenes for me out of all 703 episodes is Maggie's daycare, and I'm about to explain why. Maggie has her pacifier locked away and she needs to get it back. When you watch this episode at 4 years old, you relate to her using her toys to complete her mission. It's basic wish fulfillment. We were all inspired to use our toys in such awesome ways to take on the big wide world and win. It's great to watch. Also, you probably recognise the music. While not knowing what The Great Escape is, you still probably recognise it from TV. At age 9, when you watch it again, you're probably playing with your toys less, but still probably playing, climbing fences and running through bushes. The escapism is still there, and this time you know what the music's from, so you can see that the daycare is a prison and Maggie is leading a prisoner revolt. So even as the level of enjoyment with toys fades, you get a brand new meaning to enjoy it just as much. Then at 14, you watch it again. You've learnt a bit more about the world, so when Miss Sinclair says,
"We're the only daycare center in town that's not currently under investigation by the state,"
you start to understand the government jokes, the dark edginess and the urban legends of schools and daycare centres. But more than that, this time you understand the satire too. The criticism of how poor schooling is and how easy it is for dodgy people to get in. If anything else, you understand why Marge left Maggie there, which wouldn't have happened at a younger age, and thus makes you enjoy the scene once more. And finally, when you're an adult, the first few seconds of the scene shows Ayn Rand's School for Tots. Now I think Ayn Rand is reasonably well known in the States. Here in the UK, if it wasn't for Bioshock, I would have never heard of her. I also wouldn't have had the misfortune of reading Atlas Shrugged, but every cloud has its silver lining, and this one is that I now understand when Miss Sinclair calls babies a leech. I can get the satisfaction of putting 2 and 2 together and understanding the reference, and it increases Mrs. Sinclair's character depth. It gives her a motivation as a villain and more symbolism when Maggie triumphs. Basically, as you grow, so does the scene. Every time you watch it, another little joke is revealed. And then in modern day Simpsons, we have name-dropping Viagra, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. This is my first video, so things will only get better. I'll see you guys next time.